Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the future of the water and wastewater industry and the careers you didn't know about. I'm here in the studio, with a new friend of mine from the Southington Water Department, Mr. Michael Hedman, and he came all the way over the bridge for Southington. So how you doing, Mike?
Pretty good, Dave. How you doing?
Fantastic. All right. Hey, thanks so much for taking time to come over and tell us about your day job, man.
Well, my day job involves running a crew of about 5 guys right now. I came from Groton Utilities originally. That's where I first started my water industry career.
Okay.
It started about 15 years ago.
Okay.
I got out of the Navy after 26 years in submarines. I was working on pumps, valves, and hydraulic systems and air systems and stuff while I was in the Navy.
Okay.
And then after I came out, it was kind of a seamless transition to go right into the water industry.
Nice.
They hire uncertified guys, so you could get a job with any water industry anywhere, and generally they give you time to get your license.
Really?
And that's how it worked with Groton with me. It does work that way in the larger municipalities anyway.
Okay. Who was running Groton Utility at that time?
At that time, Tom Coronia was my chief plant operator.
Okay.
Tom Coronia was there for a number of years. He's the guy that hired me.
Okay. Was it Mark Decker there for a while after he came from Colchester?
Mark Decker, he wasn't there when I was there.
Okay.
No.
Because he was DPW in Colchester, and I thought he went to Groton.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
he wasn't at the filter plant anyways.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That's great. Now, in comparison, from Groton Utility versus Southington, what's the size of Groton now?
The plant there is rated at 12 million gallons a day.
Okay.
And Groton is about, I believe 60,000.
Okay.
So it's a pretty large city. And our watershed there in Groton, when we're spilling at the plant, we've got basically 1 billion gallons of water in the watershed. So they are a regional supplier to Mystic and Montville.
Okay.
And they just recently did a tie-in with Norwich there as well. So they can supply other towns in the area if they have to.
Okay.
And I would have stayed there. It was a great job. I was there for 13 years. I loved the guys that I worked with.
Uh-huh.
What happened was my parents were down in Florida, and they were moving up here, relocating back up to Southington. And all of a sudden, at the same time that was happening, I got this job notice that is sent out to all the water operators around the state that are, certified operators about job openings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I believe it was the New England Water Works that sent it out to me.
Okay.
But Southington was looking for a foreman, and I sent in my resume, and I got interviewed, and they hired me. And now I'm back in my hometown. I mean, it was where I graduated from high school back in 1981.
Nice.
So it feels good to be back in Southington.
Well, that's good. You mentioned high school. When you were in high school, did you have any aspiration as far as what career paths you wanted to take, or
no,
what were you looking
not
at?
at all. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I kind of thought about truck driving. I always loved trucks, and I wanted, I was thinking about truck driving. But at the time, I had an older brother that was in the Navy. My dad was retired from the Navy. And I went down to Groton where my brother was at. He gave me a tour of his submarine, and I said, "This is exactly what I want to do." And I enlisted and went in the Navy for 26 years.
Wow.
When I came out, I was looking for work, and I worked for the railroad for a year. Due to family circumstances, I ended up coming back to the southeastern Connecticut area due to an illness in the family.
Uh-huh.
And while I was out of work during that period, I was looking around for something else to do, and that's when the Groton job popped up on the internet. And I thought, well, working with water, it's what I've done for the whole career. I was in the Navy, working with pumps and valves and stuff. I sent in my resume, and they hired me. So.
Nice. It's so much, in all the interviews that I've done, and most folks that are in the water industry got in the water industry by happenstance. I had a family member that worked in the industry, or like you say, you in the service, you got exposed to that and say, okay, this is the pathway. But it's that's the prime purpose of me doing this podcast. I'm trying to get this out to all of the high school guidance counselors, because these are, they're viable careers. I mean, that, they're kind of out of sight, out of mind, and nobody,
Exactly.
you get to
Yeah.
a point where, I want to go to school, and not everybody needs to go to college or wants to go to college or should go to college.
At the end of my 12 years in high school, I was sick of school,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I didn't want to go to college. I knew I didn't want to go to college right off the bat. Anyways, I did take college later on in my years, but I didn't go right to college. I ended up, when I remember when I was in 5th grade, when my dad was stationed up in Maine. I remember looking out the window of the classroom. That's back when they put big, classroom windows in. They don't do that anymore. But
Yeah.
I'd look outside and I see these guys working for Public Works, and I think, why do I have to be in school? I want to be outside working with those guys.
Yeah.
I was ready to go to work as soon as I graduated high school.
Yeah.
And it could have been the water industry. Had somebody told me about it, I didn't know anything about the water industry.
See, there we go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that's why we're here.
And a lot of the guidance counselors, they sit in their office and you've got a book that you can go to and look at careers that are around the United States. And that's basically, I'd flip through that book, and I'd try to figure out what I was going to do. And when my brother gave me a tour of that submarine, I was like, well, I'm going to do this for a few years anyways. And I ended up going to the Navy, and I liked it, and I stayed in there.
Yeah.
But when I came out, it was like, I looked at the job posting for the filter plant, for the water treatment plant in Groton. And when I say water treatment, I tell people that I work in water treatment. They all think that I work at the sewer plant.
Yeah.
It's the first thing they think.
It's one of those misconceptions.
Yeah, and I have to explain that it's on the clean end that I work. But it was a great job. I got hired. I worked there for 13 years, and they give you time to study, to take the test through Department of Health. You've got a lot of math and science. But, when I was in high school, I was an average student. I wasn't a great student. I wasn't at the top of my class. And I didn't take any college preparatory classes or anything like that. So I was a very basic average student. And when I started, studying for the water industry, it's a lot of math and science.
Yes.
An awful lot of math and science.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through my class 1, got my license. I went through class 2, class 3, and worked my way up and got class 4. Everybody at Groton, basically, it's a class 4 plant. They want everybody to be class 4 licensed. In Southington, where I'm at now, it's a little bit different.
Okay.
They've only got a couple class 4 billets, and they keep everybody else at class 1 and class 2.
Okay. All right.
But getting your class 1 license is pretty easy.
Sure.
To start.
Sure.
So
Now, how has it been hard getting people over there? I mean,
it is. It's very hard. As a matter of fact, when they interviewed me, they had one other guy that applied for the job, one other class 4. And in the industry right now, a lot of guys are retiring.
Yeah.
And all these class 4s are going away. And if, I told my boss, my superintendent where I am now, I said, we need to get more class 4s. We need to get these guys raised up and get them class 4 licenses. And I've almost got them convinced now that if they get their class 4 license, they'll get a little bit more in their paycheck, but at least they'll be ready to do a lateral to another water company should they decide to leave Southington. And, a number of years, maybe they'll get married and start a family and want to move to another town. They'll have that class 4 license to take with them.
Or when somebody retires, they can move on up.
Exactly.
That's the thing, Well, that's good that you guys are hiring, at class 1 and class 2. Now, if somebody came and went to work for you guys for class 1 or class 2, would they have the opportunity to move up?
Southington's different. It's a little bit small, compared to Groton. It's a smaller company. They don't have the budget that Groton does.
Yeah.
So there has to be a billet for a guy to move up to class 4.
Okay.
There has to be a billet for a guy to move up to class 3. They've
Okay.
got to have a job opening. They can't just move you up to class 3 and pay you at a class 3 rate,
Right.
in the pay scales.
Well, there's nothing to say that they can't get their class 3.
Absolutely not.
And, I'm under a class 2,
Yep.
pay scale, but I have my class 3,
Right.
I see. Yep. That's the thing, and the way the certifications are now, I'm working with Metropolitan District now. I do water boot camps up there during the summer, and they just started a pre-apprentice program, which is basically kind of, and they're having the same problem as any other water. They can't get help.
Yeah.
There's not enough bodies out there that they can move into, because, as statistically, from the standpoint of water operators in Connecticut, in the next 5 years, just about 50% of the water operators are going to be eligible for retirement.
Yeah.
So ultimately we got to start refilling the pipeline, literally, as far as,
Absolutely.
get those bodies in.
Yeah.
So when guys like me walked out the door with 50 years, you got to have somebody backfilling, coming in, as
Yep.
far as that goes. Yeah.
Yep.
So now, now do you guys do UV for disinfection over there, or are you chlorination or what?
Chlorination.
Chlorination.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was in Groton, we had chlorine gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we got away from that. It's really nasty stuff to
Oh,
deal
yeah.
with.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we ended up going to sodium hypochlorite,
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to Southington, they used to have chlorine gas. They also upgraded to sodium hypo.
Sodium hypo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Now, do you have any other treatment? I mean, in fact, do you have corrosion control?
Southington's kind of, we have corrosion control. Southington's kind of unique because we're in a big valley.
Uh-huh.
And our watershed consists of 3 small reservoirs up above Southington Ski Mountain,
Okay.
which don't have a huge capacity. We've got a surface treatment plant, but that plant is only run from June or July to September.
Okay.
And for one reason, we don't have a large capacity in the watershed to draw down.
Right.
And also, we need to run the plant to augment our wells because when everybody starts irrigating their lawns,
Oh, yeah.
we're running about 7 million gallons a day going out the door.
Okay.
Right now, we're about 3 million gallons a day on the
Okay.
wells. We have 6 wells in town.
Okay.
So that means that all of our water in Southington is groundwater,
Yeah. Okay.
and it's very mineral rich, and it's very hard water. And
Okay.
I get a lot of water quality complaints.
Okay.
When I was in Groton, it was all surface water, much like New Britain,
Yeah.
and the water was it was great water to drink. It tasted great. I came to Southington, took this job, and I was like, oh my God, this water is so
It's hard.
It's very hard water, you know.
Yeah.
And we can't soften it at the wells.
Okay.
Not when we're sending out the quantities that we're sending out. So
Now, do you commingle it with your treatment water?
during the treatment plant season, when we're running the treatment plant, we do blend the water.
Okay.
Now,
as far as the groundwater, the well supply, how are you guys with PFAS?
I think we're pretty low compared to a lot of places around the country.
Okay.
Southington is an industrial city. It's an industrial town. A lot
Yep.
of industry there early on. One of our wells is right downtown, and it's in an area where there used to be a lot of forging going on and stuff
Okay.
like that. We do have about 6 parts per trillion,
Okay.
which is above the limit.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to mitigate that, obviously, and put in some vessels. Right now, we're looking at possibly injecting carbon into the wells.
GAC.
GAC.
Yeah.
GAC, granular activated carbon, and that is something that we're still, right now we've got 5 years, right?
Yeah.
To figure this out.
Uh-huh.
So we don't want to be at the front. We don't want to be at the back. So we're trying to let some other cities, go through the painful process
Yeah.
of vessel procural
Yeah.
and carbon procural or GAC procural. And,
Well, when the limits came out, I mean, you had EPA at this level, and everybody was all over the place, as far as what the limits they wanted to be at. So now it's starting to settle out now to where everybody's becoming more uniform. From that standpoint.
And there's a lot of people out in the public that don't have any clue about this.
No.
These forever chemicals. I've gotten a few calls already from people that have read the paper or seen articles on the TV, and they say, "Hey, do we have this stuff in our water?" And the answer is yes, we do, and we're making steps to eliminate it. It's going to take a few years to do that.
Now, I mean, obviously, you have to put that in your water quality report, every year. As far as that goes. Now, the other elephant in the room, so to speak, is the lead and copper rule. How you guys doing with that?
Well, we got a distribution crew that runs that program,
Okay.
and we do have some lead goosenecks in town. You talked about corrosion control and all that. We do put phosphates in the water. The water comes out of the earth. We chlorinate it. We add fluoride and we add phosphates to keep the lead in the pipes. We do have lead goosenecks in town. We do have them identified. We're slowly going through and replacing them with copper.
Okay.
They're obviously in the older homes.
Yeah.
But we periodically get people that ask, "Hey, do I have lead in my house?" Or I just had a doctor recently that's moving here from the West Coast,
Yeah.
and asked me if he had a lead lead pipe going in his house. I told him, no, your house is too new. Of course,
Right.
you don't have lead. But
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and then you have to go into, the lead and copper testing, as far as that goes. So, and if you're on that underneath that percentile, then you're good. But if you're not, then you have to do the lead and copper education and all that kind of stuff, and go into the schools, which I had to do, and that was always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of times you get to a situation, and as regulations are always changing. You get new levels.
They're always getting more stringent.
It seems that way. They're never getting easier, as far as that goes. You're testing for more stuff all the time, and with all this kind of stuff, and you get to a point where, and truth be told, the testing costs money.
It does. It's expensive.
You get to do that. With even the radionuclides that you have to periodically test for. But there again, now what do you have your own laboratory on site, or do you?
We don't. We use environmental monitoring lab in Wallingford.
EML.
EML. We use EML. Yeah. And when I was in Groton, we had our own lab. It was fully staffed, and it was great having our own lab because I didn't have to deal with that portion of it. You know. Here it's a little different.
Yeah, so. we use EML also. Andy comes over, and since I left, now Andy Burke comes over and does all our sampling. So, whatever. So you get to a point. So, if you had some advice to give to a high school senior, college freshman, what would you say?
Well, everybody is different. I was the type of guy that I didn't want to go to a building every day, pull the handle on the door, walk in the building, and stay there all day and then leave at the end of the day. I wanted a job with a little bit of variety, and that's one of the reasons I went in the Navy, because you're doing something different. When I got out of the Navy, I worked for the railroad for a short period before I got into water treatment. And water treatment is one of those jobs that it's not the same thing every day. No. Every day you're doing something different. Wow. Every day has got its own personality.
Yep.
So it stays interesting. It's always fun.
Yep.
Nothing is ever that hard. The only thing you really have to deal with is dealing with chemicals.
Yep.
To where you have PPE that you have to wear to protect yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
But really, it's not a hard job. It's a great job. It pays well. It pays. You're never going to get rich.
No.
But
it's a secure occupation.
It is a very secure occupation,
and that's what I keep telling my students. The careers in the water industry basically aren't something that you can outsource. Okay, you need boots on the ground. You gotta have people in the treatment plant. You gotta have people to fix the leaks, lay the pipes, and whatever. Install the meters. So it's a secure job, and like you say, you don't get rich, but it's a very stable and secure occupation.
Yeah, you could make a lot more money, with overtime.
Absolutely.
There's always overtime in the water industry, and if you want to be working overtime, you can definitely do that and make a lot more money.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And how many customers in Southington now?
Ratepayers, we've got about 33,000.
Okay.
So.
Now, do you have your own wastewater plant?
We do
as well.
We have Southington wastewater. Yeah, that's over near the drive-in.
Okay. Now, is the number of wastewater customers equal to the water customers, or do you have more water customers than we?
I think we have more water customers. There's a lot of septic tanks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some people are on sewer. A lot of people are on sewer in Southington, but the outlying areas from the downtown.
All septic. Yeah, it's kind of like where we are too. 60% of us, the population in town. We've got about 9,000 people in town, and we've only got 20. Just south of 2,400 water customers. So it's realistically, there's a lot of outlying areas that you're dealing with. Sewer, the septic tanks and so forth. So anyway, excellent. Now, what do you do for hobbies? Do you? I try to get.
I walk my dog.
What kind of dog?
Oh, he's a border collie mix.
Okay.
Yeah, we got him through a rescue. He came from Puerto Rico. He just came off the streets of Puerto Rico.
Nice.
But he's a small, little, medium-sized dog.
Okay. Well, and some of my wrap-up questions that we normally do, I says, okay, if, as you know, being in a music store, there's a musical side to me as far as that goes. So what kind of music do you like?
I listen to Spotify and... Ray LaMontagne,
okay,
stuff like that, real chill type music.
Okay.
I don't listen to anything crazy like I did when I was younger.
Okay.
I like pretty soft stuff.
Okay. Do you remember the first concert you ever attended?
Yes, I do.
What was it?
Charlie Daniels Band.
There we go. Nice.
Hartford, Connecticut, before the roof caved in.
Yes, I can remember. I did sound for Charlie Daniels out at the Hebron Fair one year, and he was a nice guy. It was a riot, but he big old boy. He had a belt buckle. He comes out on stage, it's about the size of a hubcap, and so forth. But he had his violin tech that basically. When he plays and he opens up the violin case and there has to be in the lid of the case there has to be literally about 40 bows and and all of the bows, and when he plays he shreds about 3 or 4 bows every performance. I mean, it looks like hair coming out. So he says he goes through 4 or 5 bows every performance, and so forth. But yeah, that was great. The other thing, if you had these are desert island questions. If you got stuck on a desert island, and you had to bring some albums, and go back dating ourselves here, what albums would you bring?
I'd probably bring some Pink Floyd.
Oh, okay.
I like Pink Floyd a lot.
Yep.
I mean they're not real hard rock.
Right.
I like Roger Waters a lot. I like even some classic stuff. Like I like Frank Sinatra.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, sir. The chairman himself. Oh, my God. Nice.
the Rat Pack and all that stuff.
Oh, God.
I like listening to that.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of stuff.
Exactly. Boy, okay. All right. So, desert island food. If you got stuck on a desert island, what food could you eat every day?
Well, I'm kind of Italian, so I like pasta.
Okay.
I don't know if I could eat it every day, but I like chicken a lot.
Okay. There we go. There you go. Pasta's usually high on the list. Pasta, pizza. We have tacos are sometimes high on the list. That we, as far as that
Everybody
goes.
likes tacos.
Well, yeah, Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely.
Go from there. So,
Yeah.
how many kids do you have?
We have 2 boys.
Okay.
They're out of the house, living on their own.
Okay.
One went to school for computer engineering. The other one went to actually into the Navy, into the nuclear power program, and he's out now. He works at a shipyard on the West Coast.
Oh, okay.
A naval shipyard out there.
Nice.
So,
Well, that's good. So the apple didn't fall far from the tree on that one, huh?
Yeah.
Into the Navy. So what kind of ship were you on in the Navy?
I was on submarines.
Submarines. Okay.
Yeah, I started out on ballistic missile submarines, 2 of them, an old 627 class, and then a 726 class, which is the Ohio class, the larger ones. And then I went to shore duty, and then at the end of shore duty, you get to pick what boat you want to go to. I picked USS Parchie, which was a spy boat at the time, special projects. I got orders to that. And then I went to the Dolphin after that, which was a deep diving research boat in San Diego.
Okay.
And then I went to 2 Fast Attack 688s out of Groton, and I retired off the USS Albuquerque.
Okay, all right.
In 07.
Well, Groton is still kind of the submarine capital, right?
It is definitely the submarine capital of the world, and electric boat has a lot to do with that because they work on the boats from the shipyard, and they build them there, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, it was funny, it was last year when we did the water boot camp up for MDC, and we had. But I think it was 13 kids that we had, from all of MDC's member towns and so forth. And we had a girl in there, and I always try to quiz them what do you think you want to do and so forth. And this girl, she had her mind made up. She says, I'm gonna be a welder, and I'm going to work for EB. I says, you go, girl. He says, man, they're always looking for welders.
They are.
They
are.
As far as that goes. But
you know what? That's you touch on an electric boat, and that's where I learned a lot of work ethic. Believe it or not, my second submarine was a new construction submarine, which meant you have sailors in the shipyard going down to the submarine that's being constructed every day by the electric boat workers.
Oh, really?
And I seen guys just doing something as simple as painting the inside of the submarine. And those guys took such pride in what they did, and they did such a good job. I learned a lot from that.
Sure.
As a young 19, 20-year-old kid. And it was, I looked at those guys and I said, man, these guys really have, impeccable work ethic, and what they do, they take a lot of pride in their work.
Well,
You know?
work, that's something a lot of times is seems to lack in a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, especially these days. You know, you get the, you know, of course I'm a baby boomer. You know, but you get the Gen X, the millennials, and all so forth. It's a different mentality. You know, you get out of some. You know, again, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to sit behind a computer, or you know, or whatever. You know, but you know, to get down and you know develop a work ethic, and you know. I tell you, I retired after 50 years, and I tell you, it's taken. I retired in January, and it's taken quite a bit. I'm just getting used to, you know, not getting up at 4 in the morning as far as that goes. And,
well, when I was in high school, I used to deliver the Hartford Courant.
Oh yeah,
and I was been getting up at 5 o'clock. Ever since I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm ready to retire in a couple of years myself and sleep in until 7 or 8.
There you go. There you go. We've earned it, right?
We've earned it. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, Mike. Thank you so much for coming down. I really appreciate it. And do you have any other things that you want to touch on as far as that goes? Or?
Well, you know, I was trying to think of the book when I was talking to my guidance counselor when I was in high school, and it's called the Occupational Outlook Handbook.
Uh-huh.
And it's a book that, you know, has every job across the United States in it, basically from construction mechanic to carpenter to chemist and everything else. And it explains shortly, you know, what each job entails and stuff. When you're going to school, you really don't have a clue what you're going to be when you grow up, you know? And I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
I think you and me both.
But, you know, I have the young at heart outlook in life.
Sure.
You know, and although I'm 60 years old now,
there you go.
You know, you're never going to really figure out what you want to do in life. You just got to do something and see if you like it. You know, the water industry, like I said, it's a great industry to get into. It's got hard work sometimes, if that's what you like,
Sure.
and it's got desk jobs sometimes, if that's what you like. It's got chemistry, it's got science. None of it is super hard. I mean, like I said, I was an average student, and I was able to get my Class 4 license by studying and taking the exam. And a lot of young people out there can do the same thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of the Future of the Water and Wastewater Industry and the Careers You Didn't Know About. And Mr. Mike Hedman, who is the treatment foreman for the Southington Water Department, is in the house and sharing us his daily duties and what he does in his day job. So if you'd like to come on the podcast, hit me up, and we will see you on the next episode. Mike, thanks so much for coming out.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.